If you have one of these, a smartphone, then it's likely that you spend a lot of your time typing on that smartphone. The keyboard is very important, whether it's for texting or whether it's for, searching for things online. For today, we're going to be talking about how to improve that typing experience on your phone by using some apps, especially one from Google called Gboard. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video. Thank you as always to everyone who's been watching these videos on the various platforms. Now for today, we are here to talk about keyboards. We're constantly interfacing and interacting with the keyboards on our phone. So why not find a way to make that typing experience or that experience of interfacing with that keyboard a bit better? And for today, I want to highlight one app in particular that's coming from Google. It's something that I use personally, and that's called Gboard, or basically the Google keyboard. So that's what we're going to be talking about for today. As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video, and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out, and just see what the team can do for you. Now, as we begin, some may or may not be aware that there are actually a lot of keyboard and typing options out there when it comes to smartphones and tablets and all of these things. I personally got into looking for alternative keyboards when I was first introduced to an app called SwiftKey, and SwiftKey allowed people to do what's called swipe typing, right, where basically you're not typing by tapping on each individual key, but rather you swipe across the keyboard, sort of making out a pattern of the word that you're trying to type, and it figures out what you're trying to do, and you write your sentences in that way. Pretty cool functionality, and for me, SwiftKey was what introduced me to that. And over the years, SwiftKey was a big part of my life, but over the years I also then got introduced to the Google keyboard, and that one really looked cool. And one of the things that I liked about it was all the features that were integrated into it, particularly the ability to simply press the Google button and initiate a Google search inside your keyboard, right? I really thought that was cool. And then on top of that, there was the ability to get GIFS, to get memes, that type of thing straight in your keyboard that you can insert inside of a chat. If you've ever wondered sometimes where people are getting some of these memes, stickers, and all of that stuff, it's because they'll be using some of these tools. Honing in specifically on Gboard, it is, as I said at the beginning, Google's keyboard, and basically it is an app that's available on both Android and iOS. And one of my favorite things about it is the customization. In addition to the Google searches and the ability to get stickers, GIFs, and memes, right inside the app, the thing that I like the most about it is the ability to customize the layout. You can put a picture in the background. You can change the transparency of the keys, all of these things, and at the same time, I think it just makes your overall typing experience just feel more personalized. Okay, so starting off on the side of Android, I'm gonna open up my phone here, and if we go into the apps and I go under the Google apps, we look for Gboard. This is it. It's an app. We see that there's a lot of settings that are there, right? And there's a lot of customization that you can do. Now, one of the things that I was talking about earlier on is the fact that under the theme, you can actually customize what you want your theme to be. I think, for example, if I was to create a quick one, right, I could literally go into let me just go into one of the colors, one of the black ones, and then you see you have an option to do key borders. And basically key borders are right now they're off. I prefer mine to be off, but basically you look at that and if they're on, that's what it does. It's basically switches on the keys like that, switches on, off. All right, you have the borders around. So let's say we have that, we apply, and then you have that. You can actually get into that, right? And then yeah, that's basically how, you know, how that works. The other way is that if you go into, you know, my theme, you basically have the ability to go into, you know, your gallery, and let's say you want to use a wallpaper, and let's say I want to use this is a, let me go back, let's say I go into my gallery, and then I decide that I want to use a car. Let's say we want to use this Bentley, for example. You can literally just, you know, customize. Right there you have your Bentley, say next, and see you can adjust the brightness as well, right, like that, or make it faint black. All right, let's say you keep it at, let's say 65. Yeah, then you have, and then you say done. It means that that's what your keyboard is going to be looking like, and I think that's pretty sick. If you put the keyboard borders, you know, that's what it looks like on that end. So that's how the customization, you know, actually works. And then languages, I use the QWERTY South Africa option. That's for me. And then there's also other things, glide typing, that's what I was talking about, where you can do that. Just to show you how my personal one looks like, if I go here, let's say into messages, and I say I want to do a new message, you can see it's got the theme that we picked earlier on. But if I just go back into my settings, so that I pick the theme that I typically use, which is this one, right? And then we go back into messages. When I want to type a message, you see I've got my MobbJustice logo in the background. You know, that's the way that I personally like typing. And you can literally, this is a test message, yeah, and basically that's that. The swiping sort of works a bit differently, because you can say this is how you swipe, right? And you can see it glides, right? So usually, you know, in cases where it doesn't know what you're typing, it does give you that ability to choose the word. And yeah, the other thing is that inside the actual app itself, you've got you know, all of these settings, because when you open the app, you can be doing all of this stuff. And then if you press this button, you have that ability to, you know, get into, you know, some of the stickers, you know, some of the GIFs over here, you know, depending on what you're using, no, LOL, you know, all of that stuff. And then you can get into, you know, these are for all the people that used to text back in the day. These are the little, I'd call this the pre-emojis that were there back in the day. And then these are the normal emojis that we are used to. And then you can search, you know, for things inside here. You just have the little down arrow if you want to minimize the board. And then the other cool thing about this is that if we come here, you've also got a, you know, you've also got a text to type. We have a text to type feature that works in this way, and you can speak and it translates to text. Yeah, so you know, that's how all of that works. The other thing to note is the fact that if we go into settings and you want to have different keyboards, because basically you have a list of keyboards. Let's say we get to the keyboard list and default. I'm using a Samsung on my end with One UI, so it might appear a bit differently on your phone. If you go to the keyboard list and default, and then we go here on the keyboard lists and then default keyboard, there's a bunch of keyboards that are available, because you buy a phone and it has a standard keyboard. So this one is a Samsung keyboard, so you have your different options there, and my default keyboard at the moment is Gboard. All right, that's what I use. So yeah, you have that functionality, that ability to be able to choose and switch in between, because if I was to click the Samsung, then it will switch back to the standardized keyboard. Now switching over to the side of iOS, if I just come here and I look for Gboard, you see there it is. It's an app once again, and more or less the app functionality is about the same, except that as you can see, there's a slight difference between the appearance, but the settings are more or less the same. One of the things, if we get started here, it takes you into your settings, because inside your settings you have to choose the different keyboards, and then you switch on the Gboard, and then you have to allow the full access there, and then you can get into things on that end, right? And then just to show what that looks like, let me get back into Gboard, and then it's just giving an instruction over there. If I go under the themes, I've had a theme on mine for some time, and that's this one here with the Apple logo in the background, right? So it's already selected. The customization option is still the same as we saw on the Android side. So now we can actually look at how Gboard works on iOS in a practical sense. If we go over to the Messages app and start a new message, you'll see that I'm actually using the default iOS keyboard right now, and the usual thing. But this is where things differ between iOS and Android, because you can hit the globe icon that's at the bottom there, hold it down, and you have the option of your different keyboards that are loaded onto your phone. As I said, there are a lot of options out there. You could have SwiftKey, you could have Gboard, the standard one, all of that. So if we go to Gboard, right, it now switches over. Now you see the custom theme that I set up earlier on, that I was showing off. And here, usual thing, if I go into the text box, you can type like this, right? And then using one hand and swiping, or you can type like this. One of the cool things that we spoke about earlier on that you can do with the Gboard is that if we hit the Google button here, right, you can actually go into it, and let's say we type in Prince Harry, for example. Type in Prince Harry and you search, you see you get actual Google results that show up straight inside the keyboard itself, which is pretty cool. And because of that, you can also have images popping up as an image search, or you can have GIFs that show up as a what's it called, as a search just inside. And if we're to do, let's say, this GIF, you do it, you copy it, and then you paste it. It means that it's now going to be something that you can send over to someone in a text message, right? So that's how all of that works, right? And then the other thing that you can do is that if we went back there, let's say back to Prince Harry, you can see that at the top you've got the option for Google searches, translates, YouTube, maps. Let's say you clicked on YouTube, right? And then you say search YouTube, and then once again we type in Prince Harry, right? Then it's going to show all of these videos popping up inside the app that you can actually switch over to, and all of that is happening inside your keyboard, right? So it helps you to not have to leave your keyboard to do certain things, which I think is pretty cool. I do have to say that as much as I've enjoyed using Gboard on my various devices, on my iPhone in particular, because this is an older iPhone, this is an iPhone 6, right? there's been some issues where sometimes switching between the default app and the Gboard has been a bit of an issue, and I think it just has to do with the fact that it's an older phone and it sometimes struggles, keeping up with some of these things. So it's a bit of a caveat for people that have your older iPhones. Now that we have an understanding of how Gboard works and all of that stuff, it should be known that Gboard is not the only alternative keyboard that's there. I started off talking about what's going on with SwiftKey, because that was the first alternative keyboard that I personally used. But if you head over to the Google Play Store or to the iOS App Store, you'll see that there are a lot of different apps that people can use, and they're all focusing on different things, to get that customized typing experience. But apart from that, there's also competition just from the stock keyboards themselves, because if you're not aware that there's an alternative, then it means you're just going to stick with your Samsung keyboard, your Huawei keyboard, your Apple keyboard, whatever it is. So that's a form of competition for the likes of Gboard. But at the same time, I think that helps us to get into another area of competition, and that's features within the typing experience itself. If we get back into the iPhone experience and head over to the Messages app, start another message, you'll see that the stock iOS keyboard in itself, right, the typing experience, nothing really to write home about, except for the fact that now you can swipe. Right, you can see at the top there, because they've implemented the swiping feature onto the iOS keyboard. But on top of all of that stuff, if I get into here, you see these options at the top, and basically what iOS allows you to do is to have all of these features inside your typing experience. And as much as I like the Gboard, I think it's really good on the Android side. Some of these features on the iOS side are pretty cool, because you have the option to, I guess, your photos as usual, but at the same time there's an entire app store that is available just for apps that are going to work inside your iMessage, right? At the same time, you've got the ability to do things like Apple Pay. You've got image search that you can do, similar to what we saw on Gboard. At the same time, you've got you can make your stickers and all of that stuff that you can create there. Apple allows this thing, they call it touch messaging, where basically if I do this and then I say hi, you can send something like that, and it writes it out. You can send the music that you're listening to. So there are all of these different options that are happening inside here. At the same time, there are all these games that actually happen inside the keyboard. On iOS, you can play mini golf. One of my favorite games is there's a word game that I really like. I'm trying to see if I can find it for now. It doesn't seem to be here, but you could play like 8-ball, the snooker, you could play the word games, and stuff like that. All of this is happening inside the keyboard. So it's just showing that there's a lot of potential, if you decide that you're going to get into the keyboarding experience, quite deeply. On top of all of that, you've got apps like WhatsApp that have started implementing, GIF features, stickers, all of those things happening inside their app. But I do not think it's as feature rich as what we're seeing on the side of iMessage. One of the reasons why so many people around the world really like iMessage, despite the fact that WhatsApp is a much bigger platform. In conclusion, alternative keyboards are a thing. People are thinking about this stuff, as we're seeing. Google is thinking about this. The stock manufacturers are thinking about this. WhatsApp is thinking about this, because people realize how much time we're spending texting, typing, tweeting, writing Facebook posts, LinkedIn, whatever it is. And if you can make that typing experience as feature rich as possible, then it sort of helps with a consumer's overall, what's the word I'm looking for, satisfaction when it comes to a particular platform. And I would have to say that I'm really quite happy with the way that Gboard performs. I think there might need to be a whole separate video just around the typing and keyboard experience that iMessage actually offers inside its app. But for today, I'm saying that Gboard is probably my recommendation for probably the best alternative keyboard that you can download for both Android and iOS. So that's been it for this video. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Let us know in the comments, is this something that you knew about? Is this something that you did? Have you used alternative keyboards? How many have you tried? Have you tried SwiftKey? Have you used Gboard? Are you one of those people that is playing games inside your iMessage, your iMessage keyboard? Let us know in the comments, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Hey, this is Baby G, and you're watching the MobbJustice channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Live it, love it, like it. This is the MobbJustice TV.